Hey everyone! So I am here today, one, with new posters, a Dracula Ford Theater reproduction of the poster that was out for the play back in the day. And then, I don't think you can see it from this far away, which pisses me off, but it's this beautiful drawing of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and it's Harry fighting the basilisk, and it's just stunning. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I will put the link to both of these posters in the description bar down below so you guys can see them a little closer, or if you want them, because there's a whole series of these. I've only seen 1 through 4 on Amazon. I'm not sure if 5, 6, or 7 exist. So that's something I'm looking into because these are all beautiful, and frankly I want all of them. But please excuse any drinking of my kombucha. I have been feeling like crap lately, and I'm hoping this like gets rid of my stomach pain. It tastes fine, but it smells vaguely of vinegar, which is just not great. But anyway, I am back with a roast. Not a romance roast this time, but a good old-fashioned regular book roast. Today, we are roasting Cersei by Madeline, what is her name? Miller. Madeline Miller. So the cool thing is, it's actually April 9th. This does not get released to the public until April 10th, but my favorite people in the world, Book of the Month, actually had it available for you to order. Like, I ordered it earlier in the week. It technically, I think it came probably Friday, and I didn't check my mail, so I didn't get it till yesterday. And I finished it this morning, but just so I could actually like get this out before the book gets out tomorrow. But it wasn't because I enjoyed it. But no beef against Book of the Month. I love Book of the Month. They are one of my favorite subscriptions. They do great books that I have been meaning to do reviews on, but they are wonderful. You get, like I said, 1 book a month. Every once in a while they give you something a little extra in there. You always get a bookmark, which usually it's just plain blue. It says Book of the Month. And there's usually a quote on the back, and this is from Jane Austen, and it says, "If a book is well written, I always find it too short." And it has, like, you got this from the April 2018 box. But you can skip a month with Book of the Month. If you don't like any of the books, they also have like additional books you can get for a lower price. But frankly, Book of the Month is a great deal. You're paying a fraction of the price. I think it's $16 if I'm not mistaken. And like, even for this instance, this book's $27. So you don't pay shipping and handling, so you saved $11. Yeah, so I have no beef with Book of the Month. I will put it's not an affiliate code because everybody gets one if you have a subscription, but I will put mine down below. You guys can use. I believe you guys get a free book, like your first month is free, which is how I got into it, and then like I think I get like $5 or like a credit or something. So yeah, so no beef with Book of the Month, but beef with this book. So Cersei is a retelling of, not necessarily a retelling, but the fictional account of Cersei, the, sorceress's life. If you are familiar with anything with Greek mythology, you know Cersei is the sorceress that is on the island that Odysseus and his men face, where she turns men into pigs. And of course, this is very much along the same vein of like Wicked, or, one of my favorite books like Iago, where it's like taking villainous figures in literature and giving them a backstory, or either explaining the world doesn't understand, and a story's been spun the wrong way because it didn't fit the narrative people wanted, or, ultimately this is the tragic backstory and why they're evil. So that's one of those. First off, before even getting fully into the plot, I went into it knowing that my Greek mythology is a little rusty. I haven't really been reading Greek mythology since I was probably in middle school. I went through a phase, so any knowledge I had, is rusty to say the least. But I went in reading it without any knowledge and went back and checked after, and also because it was like I didn't want to fully know like the Greek myth that's already been established, so I didn't like get angry while reading the book. But that ended up happening because I kept reading it going, this doesn't feel right. Like, I don't remember, like, it's like, what is it that meme that's online says, I don't know enough about blank, but that sounds wrong. And it's very much where I was like, I don't know enough about Cersei's story besides, you know, the part in the Odyssey to think that this was wrong, but it seemed wrong. Ultimately, I'm not gonna lie, when I just did like the Wikipedia reading afterwards of Cersei, and honestly, I think that's where Madeline Miller got the plot. Like, I think she looked where it was like these are the main things throughout, like, you know, the main Odyssey canon, and then like later literature, and then just like went from there, because it was just like boom, plot point, boom, plot point, boom, plot point, and then everything else she filled in around it. I feel like she didn't do any research. I'm checking to see if she has like a bibliography or anything of like books she referenced in history she referenced. No, okay, no, she doesn't, because this is right there, because she puts a cast of characters. So she doesn't have a bibliography or anything of where she did her research. So, and usually a lot of historical fictions or even myth fictions I tend to read, there tends to be some kind of bibliography, even if it's like I referenced this one book for my entire thing to base my story around. So that's weird and kind of suspicious. So I genuinely think she just went on Cersei's Wikipedia page, and because she wanted to write, you know, a Wicked-esque story, and, you know, did that and went, this is fine. Because really there was nothing differentiated, and even if I went on in other media to see if she pulled from, you know, random movies or modern books, her book is listed currently, even though it's not even out yet. So I think that's also fascinating. Anyway, I immediately had problems with this book when I started reading. Like, chapter 1, I was already unhappy. But I was like, I'll just power through, because now that I have this YouTube channel, instead of me just being like, I'm done with this book, you know, I can actually like talk about it with you guys and give you a full picture and try to educate you guys on what was wrong with it, or what I thought was wrong with it. You guys might not think what's wrong with it. But ultimately, my biggest issue in chapter 1 is kind of like the I was born, which is like fine, but it's immediately into I'm the oldest, but all of my siblings are more liked than me. I'm ugly. Everybody hates me. Like, it's that bullshit. It's already the I'm ugly, so nobody likes me. And it's like the cool motive, still murder type thing is like the vibe you start getting with it. It just like immediately I'm like just unhappy. But I'm like, whatever, I'll power through. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe this is just like one of those rough start books and it gets good. No. Not the case, because then the next biggest plot point is because she has a baby brother who she ends up taking care of, because her mom's just like, no, fuck this kid, and she's taking care of him, and ultimately they keep going once he gets a little older onto this island where they had, you know, where the gods had ultimately killed Kronos, and there was this flower bed, and her brother was like, oh, we can do magic with it. And she was like, okay, sounds fake, but whatever. And she keeps going to this island even after he leaves, because he ends up being like a super big dick, and his dad's like, I'm gonna like give you a kingdom, because Cersei's parents are like a titan and a nymph, I think. Her mom's a nymph or like a dryad. Super weird bullshit stuff. And so, you know, so she keeps going to this island, and of course, a man finally appears on this island. He's just a typical fisherman, and he recognizes that Cersei's some kind of like goddess figure, or powerful figure, but he keeps coming back, and they hang out, and like Cersei starts falling in love with him, because of course she does, and he basically at one point is like, I won't ever be able to come back to this island. I have to provide for my family. My father is beating me because like I'm not bringing enough fish. And she ends up being like, he is so wonderful. He's such a gentle and kind human being. I want to turn him into what he's meant to be. And the flowers kind of call to her, the ones that are on like where Kronos was destroyed, saying like, if you like squeeze them in his mouth and think about it, he'll turn into, you know, he will turn into who he's supposed to be. Somehow she turns him basically into it. She turns him into a god and takes him, you know, with her back home so he can like live with them as a god. And of course, you know, it doesn't work out as planned, because, you know, basically all these like other beautiful women start talking to him, and he starts spending less time with Cersei. He starts paying less attention to her. And he ends up wanting to marry one of the naiads that kind of like bullied Cersei. And Cersei was like, no, she's like mean, you don't want to do this. And he's like, no, whatever, she's nice to me. And Cersei is like, if she was gone, he would love me, because we're falling now into that trope. And so she gets the flowers and ultimately does the same thing to the girl, and the girl turns into this horrifying monster and like runs away. And still the man doesn't want her. He doesn't care, right? He's just gonna go marry another, like, you know, nymph or whatever. He doesn't give a shit about her. So then of course she's devastated and she's hurt and blah 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 blah. And ultimately, because she ends up having some kind of remorse about like turning this like nymph into an ugly monster, and goes and tries to like confess and is like, I did this, like this is my fault, I'm the reason why she's like this. Everybody's kind of like, no, sure, whatever, Cersei. And she's like, no, I'm serious. And they end up investigating it, and it turns out Cersei and her 3 siblings all can do magic, but nobody else can. Like, it's different than like, you know, being a god or a goddess. It's a very different kind of thing. And basically they all kind of get sent away. Like Cersei gets banished. Like, the other ones are given kingdoms and are basically saying like, leave us the fuck alone. Her sister marries King Minos, and you know, all of that type thing. She gets banished to this island because they've determined she's the most dangerous out of all of them, because she's been using her gifts for evil by, you know, turning the nymph. So they banish her on this island. And, you know, but of course it's a nice island. It's got a beautiful mansion, all the shit. So she starts like being able to hone her craft. And I will say the one redeeming thing, and this isn't even like a redeeming thing, it ends up like, because people can visit, she's exiled, people can like visit her, but like she can't leave the island. So like people keep on sending their like kids to her, like their shitty daughters to her, to like be her servants for like a year when they're like exiled for a year, because she's exiled forever. But like Hermes shows up and just starts hanging out because she's a novelty, and they like start fucking. And I'm like, okay, out of all the Greek gods, you might as well. Hermes is fine. But again, I say that because I'm biased, because he's, you know, the Greek equivalent to Loki. So, you know, so like that's happened, and she, you know, so she finds out about the outside world from him, kind of what's going on, what her father's doing, what her siblings are doing, if he has any knowledge. Ultimately she ends up, her exile gets like lifted for like a few days so she can go help her sister give birth, and her sister of course gives birth to the Minotaur, and it's that whole big thing. And I feel like that's my issue, even though this all connects because it's canonically that like Cersei's siblings, you know, have large roles in other Greek myths, which is usually the way. You know, her sister being married to King Minos, her one brother is the one that, you know, has the golden fleece that Jason takes. So of course then by extension, Medea is her niece. You know, she meets Daedalus and Icarus, and, you know, obviously Odysseus, all of these people, but it just feels too convenient, if that makes sense. It's just because it's all very family based, it's all lineage based, and it's just like, oh well, because they're my cousin or they're my sibling, which it just, the way it's written, I'm aware that that's kind of how it is canonically, but it feels lazy, if that makes sense. And I think my biggest issue with this book is, you know, this is a spoiler, and if you are sensitive to this type of thing, be prepared. There's a rape. It's not graphic. Literally, you just know what's happening. Like, you understand in the context of, like, you know, because there's not any actual sex scenes in this book. So, but, like, if you understand, like, what rape is, you know it's a rape. And then that's when she starts, like, turning men into pigs. And I hate rape as a plot point for women, and like a defining thing where it's their turning point, you know, where it either makes them evil, and it's still like she's still not evil, she just like she just puts like the herbs in their drink and can control it. So if they act up and she realizes they might try to rape her again, like these other men, because other men are coming to the island because they see the island, you know, their boats, they're trying to take a pit stop type thing, and she'll turn them into pigs because of it. But I just hate rape as a plot point. This isn't even like, because that's why I checked too. I wanted to see if that was canon, and I can't find anything that was canon. That's why she started doing it. It's just, it's late one, it's lazy writing. And it's just, I feel like any kind of sexuality or sex being a woman's complete plot point or turning point is, frankly, in the 21st century, really offensive. But like I said, it's also lazy writing. It just is. Find something else. Find something different, better. I don't know what. But it's just, it's not okay in my book. And it's like I said, it just feels lazy. She ends up, of course, she meets Odysseus. Odysseus impregnates her because everything's very consensual in that case. And there's all these tie-ins. That's why I had to check. That's when things started getting weird, that I was like, I don't know if this is real. Or like, but apparently that is canon, that she's pregnant by Odysseus, and like, her son by Odysseus ends up trying to go find Odysseus, kills him on accident type thing. That's all canon, but it feels very rushed too. That's like my biggest issue, is this is a rushed plot. Everything about it isn't timed right. And I don't know if it's just chapter length or what it is, but it's not well plotted. There's this level of speed of how events are occurring that because it's only 383 pages, and I feel like the amount of things that happened, these books should be longer. If you're gonna do this as the life of such and such, especially when it's a like immortal figure where time is different, it shouldn't be this short. And I get that maybe she wasn't trying to bog it down with all these unnecessary details, but this was just to do someone's life story. You can't do it in under 400 pages. You just can't. Fictional or not. You simply cannot, because I think Wicked's over 400 pages. And again, I have problems with that too, is nothing feels fleshed out for me. Cersei doesn't feel fleshed out for me. All of her character traits and why she's exiled and why, she feels awful about herself is lazy, overdone writing. It adds nothing of benefit. Frankly, I could have gone without it. Like, reading this book, so I'm just frustrated by this book. Apparently she's written one other one where I think she talks about, like, the Battle of Troy, but from what I understand from reviews of that, people kind of the same issue, that it turns it kind of into a fluff piece, and it just gets weird. Even though she technically never deviates from the story, it just doesn't feel right. So, yeah, I'm not gonna recommend this book unless you want to like face swap, because this actually is a great face swap book. But I don't recommend this to read. I mean, check it out from your library if you want, or if you find it like used somewhere, it's a couple bucks. It's a quick read. It's okay if you're fine with kind of that like overdone plot points type thing, then you'll probably be fine with this book. But for me, I just want something a little bit more, especially when you delve into the territory of retelling a famous character's story. I think there needs to be more attention and more detail, and this just didn't do it for me. But, so that's my review. Like I said, no hard feelings against Book of the Month. Without them, I wouldn't have got this as early, and frankly, I don't know if I ever would have gotten this book and been able to review it and, talk about it, because I think it's important for me to branch out again, because it's like, obviously I want to, be kind of like making fun of a romance channel, but I do need to get back into reading and broadening my horizons again, and Book Outlet's great for that. Not Book Outlet, excuse me. Book of the Month is great for that. And I've given me some other great books, but this is just not one of them. Not a fan. But if you enjoyed this roast, give me a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. Or hit the subscribe button. Would also greatly appreciate it. I'm not going to say turn on notifications because I never know how actively I'm going to post. But leave a comment down below if you also got this from Book of the Month, if you've already read it, what you think, if you're going to read it, if you already have it on pre-order, if you've read the other book by her, is it got the same issues? Like, tell me how you feel about all this, and, if you agree, if you disagree, I'm happy with either of that. Let's have a discussion about it. But I will see you all again soon. Bye-bye.